You're on the House Intelligence Committee. You've been dealing a lot with the Russia investigation. So I'm happy you're here, but I don't think Donald Trump is. He tweeted about you recently. And right here we see sleazy Adam Schiff, the totally biased congressman looking into Russia, spends all of his time on television, so he's got you there, pushing the Dem loss excuse. So when you first saw that from the President of the United States, how'd you feel?
Well, I was getting on the plane to fly to Washington, and my phone lit up with messages, "The president just called you a sleaze." And my reaction was, I've been slimed.
Yeah.
Like a character on Ghostbusters.
You did.
But my second reaction was, he really should have talked to my friends from grade school.
Yeah.
With a name like Schiff, they did much better than he did.
Yeah.
There were a lot of material to work with
Yeah,
there.
he usually does a really good job with his, like, disparaging nicknames, but I feel like he dropped the ball.
It was a missed opportunity.
I feel like you're making him so angry that you're blinding his ability to really dig in.
This is true.
So I want to talk about the Wall Street Journal reported tonight that Special Counsel Mueller has opened up a grand jury. Now, you have a different investigation. You're the House Intelligence Committee's investigation. There's a Senate Judiciary Committee. There's a Senate Intelligence Committee. The grand jury is separate, but what does this tell you as somebody with your legal background that he has opened up a grand jury?
Well, his responsibility is really different than all of ours in Congress, because we're looking at the whole range of what Russia did, their active measures campaign, what tactics they employed. He's looking at a very specific task, and that is, were U.S. laws violated, and if so, who should be prosecuted? And the fact that he has now apparently or reportedly gone to a grand jury means he now needs the power of compulsion to get documents, to compel witnesses to testify. That is a necessary step to move forward to a potential prosecution. Doesn't mean that he will prosecute, but this is part of the investigation very much moving forward.
And another report said that he's sort of moving into the financial element of this. Donald Trump had said recently, in speaking about Special Counsel Mueller, that that was sort of a red line for him. Why do you think it is that Donald Trump is so worried about the financial part of this investigation?
Well, I can tell you why I'm so concerned about it, and that is when people think about compromat, what the Russians call compromising material, they tend to think about the dossier, potentially salacious videos.
It's all I think about.
But
I wish you hadn't brought it up.
The far more compromising material would be if the Russians were engaged, as they do in other places like Europe, in illicit financial transactions and money laundering or something like that with the Trump organization. Then they would have very powerful compromising material they could hold over his head, and it could affect U.S. policy. So if Bob Mueller is looking into this, it's really quite necessary to make sure that our policy is based on U.S. national security interests, not the personal exposure of the President of the United States. And obviously, this deeply worries the President. Now, whether that says something about his financial dealings in the past remains to be seen, but plainly, this is what got him once again to talk about possibly removing Mueller.
Now, you were talking about, did the Russians do anything to compromise the Trump administration, Donald Trump personally? And it's interesting because the Russians, you could find in your investigation that the Russians did things, and it turns out that the Trumps were not aware of this. And Jared Kushner sort of made that argument. It was an leaked audio to congressional interns that we couldn't have colluded with the Russians. He basically said we couldn't even collude with our own campaign, like basically making an argument of incompetence. Which isn't a bad argument.
Well, and the Speaker has often made the same argument.
Yes.
Don't hold the President responsible. He doesn't know what he's doing.
He's new.
He's new.
Yeah.
He's inexperienced. He's not a politician.
Yeah. All things that would have been great to hear on the campaign trail.
Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I want to ask this as well. I'm imagining that you have a lot of people that see you and see your investigation as some sort of savior for the Democratic Party. Like this, you're going to discover something that's going to push him out of office. And it strikes me that the Democrats are at risk right now, as a party, of putting too much stock in hoping that an investigation brings about the end of the Trump administration, when the focus should be at where you hope administrations end, at the ballot box. Do you think the Democratic Party is doing enough messaging outside of their investigations into the Trump administration as far as, hey, the next time you vote, we actually have a message that is independent of what we think is wrong with the current people in power?
This is, I think, absolutely essential, and that is, yes, we have to go forward with the investigation, and that's very important for the reasons we talked about. But more than that, we need to give voters a powerful positive reason to vote for Democrats, not just all the reasons they don't like Donald Trump, which they know already. And I think the real key to that is addressing the economic concerns that people have, particularly in distressed communities, where they look at a small global world, they look at automation replacing a lot of jobs, and they ask, and they have every right to ask, what are you offering us to give us hope that our lives can be better, that our children's lives can be better? They have every right to ask that. We need to have a good answer for them. The Republicans have no answer except you're going to win so much you're going to be tired of winning.
Yeah.
Well, they're not tired of winning.
No.
But we owe them a good answer, too, and we are working on it. It's, I think, not only vital to the Democratic Party, it's vital to the country. If we're going to have a situation where we continue to pass on to the next generation a higher quality of life, we're going to have to answer that very difficult but very important economic question.
I look forward to hearing what those answers are from the party. Last thing, every day, I'm paying attention to stuff every day. The part of me that can be shocked, I keep waiting to be numbed, but every day something happens where I go, what? Does that still happening for you?
Every day it happens to
Okay,
me.
good. All right. It's nice to see you're not jaded.
I like to say I'm running out of adjectives and expletives.
Yeah, well, there you go. We have to start, we have to find more of those for this. Thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Congressman Adam Schiff, everybody.